The original modified Marshall that Ross brought in, you know, I think at that point we were using a lot of different stuff. You know, it honestly was whatever we could afford. I think it was a Hughes Kettner. There was some of the first, you know, dirty amps that they were doing in the early '90s, and then we were using some Mesa Boogie stuff, whatever we could afford or borrow. There was a couple Marshalls. I remember I had an old Randall, solid state. And so it was a combination of different amps that we would, if one would break, we would use whatever we had. So, but when it came time to record the album, Ross really wanted us to use this particular Marshall, which looking back now, we're glad we did. But for us, it was a new sound because it was very bitey and mid-range driven. And we always had that scooped out, like chunky low end feel. That's one of the things we loved. And I think that kind of came from Dimebag Darrell and the early Pantera records, because he had that sound. And everybody loves Dimebag. And so for us to get in tune with that sort of a newer sound, a different, very, just a mid-range driven sound it was different. But once we heard it in the tracks and some of the demos and playbacks, we're like, okay, this doesn't sound like anything. And when you listen back to those records, it's on the verge of like not good, but just breaking up enough where it's, you know, I have a friend that we were talking about. He's like, it's almost so bad that it's right at that moment where it's like too much. So we found the sweet spot there. And with the tuning, the mid-range really helps it helps define the notes. And especially with being tuned low, and it can get muddy on the low end. So bringing that mid-range up and kind of getting used to that, it took a little time.